Hey everybody, my name is Mike Montgomery.
And I'm Rachel Andersen.
And today we're going to show you how we just finished this vertical subway tile backsplash on Modern Builds. You did it! I didn't even have to say it. Perfect. So allow me to introduce Rachel. She is a graphic designer, a DIY queen, and currently renovating a beautiful mid-century house here in Tulsa. So currently we are in a half bath that you renovated from a closet, right?
Yeah, coat closet, yeah.
All right, so tell me more. What's the plan?
So the plan is, it's super tiny in here. I'm gonna build a vanity box here, but it's real tight. So we're gonna do countertop to ceiling backsplash tile to make it a lot brighter and nicer.
Yay, let's get started.
Sweet.
Because the vanity wasn't already installed, we screwed this board to the wall so that our first row would be level.
So these are the tiles we're gonna be using. What are they called?
3x9 subway tiles.
3x9 subway tiles, and we'll leave them linked below. Can you get these on Amazon, or where'd you get them?
I got them from the tile shop in town, but I'm pretty sure you can get them on Amazon too.
Cool. And right now, Rachel is setting up the saw so that we can cut 16 of these pieces to 8 inches tall to establish the first row of tiles. That'll get us full tiles all the way up to the ceiling. Whatever you do, just make sure you're using spring water, not purified. Sponsored by.
We needed to cut 16 tiles for that first row to be established. So to make sure that we got consistent results, I used a stop block on the sliding table to make sure every piece was cut to the exact same size. The tile saw that we used had a sliding table, which made this whole process really easy. After I had a few pieces cut, I took them to Rachel so that she could apply tile adhesive to the back of the tiles, which is called back buttering, and then install that first row.
Like that. Make it really pretty.
From what I've seen online, some people prefer to apply the adhesive to the back of the tile, while others prefer to apply it to the wall. And to be honest, either of them will work. Just make sure that you're seating your tiles well so that none of them are going to fall off later on. So I just kept cutting away on this first row while Rachel was installing the pieces. That way we were able to move more quickly. And notice that whenever I finish my cut, I push the tile away from the path of the blade just to make sure nothing gets caught. That first row really went on great, but there was still a small gap between the last full tile and the wall. So Rachel marked where that piece needed to be cut, and then I set up another stop block on the sliding table so that I could cut about 8 of those pieces.
No, I'm saying good job not covering what you're doing.
Oh, good.
Like, perfect.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. I wasn't even thinking about it. Your pep talk worked earlier.
So the beauty of tiling is that once you have your first row complete and you establish that straight line, it's usually pretty smooth sailing from there.
Guys, hard work. Hard work right there. This is the last hard cuts that we have to do since Mike knocked out all the sliver pieces. So we're gonna use a drill attachment and cut out for the fixtures, and then it should be smooth sailing from here, which will be awesome.
To find where I needed to drill the hole, I just marked my vertical and horizontal center points of the fixture and then connected the dots.
That looks right, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like Rachel mentioned earlier, we were planning on using a ceramic hole saw to drill these pieces, but as you can see, it wasn't spinning square. Something had happened to it. And because of that, the hole saw wasn't able to stay in place to drill a clean hole. Conventional wisdom would probably say just go to the store and pick up a new one. But in the spirit of making things work and using what we have on hand, we grabbed the angle grinder with a diamond ceramic cutting disc on it, and I used that to try and cut the hole for the fixtures. Of course, this was totally an experiment, but you all know how much I love the angle grinder. I think it's such a versatile tool, and I really wanted to give this a shot.
So obviously this isn't big enough, but we want to make sure that we're still on our mark before we keep cutting any deeper.
Once I got my piece inside and realized that we were right on the mark, I took it back outside and made that hole a little bit larger, making sure to move slowly and carefully. Now, of course, it wasn't the most beautiful cut in the world, but the fixtures are going to be covering this up, and it was way better than having to stop and go to the store to get a new tool. And really quickly, before moving on, I'd like to give a big thanks to the sponsor that's making this whole video possible, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 25,000 courses on almost anything you could want to learn. They've got awesome courses on things like business and online marketing to creative things like photography and videography, all the way to leatherworking and so much more. One of my New Year's goals this year was to up the quality of these videos. In fact, that's kind of always a goal. And recently I took the course DIY Cinematography, Make Your Videos Look Like a Movie by Ryan Booth. It goes into filming, editing, equipment, lighting, and so much more. I got a lot out of it, and I definitely recommend it if you're interested in the same. So whether your New Year's goal is business-oriented or creative or a little bit of both, I'm sure there's a Skillshare course to help you accomplish it. And right now, for my subscribers, Skillshare is hooking it up. They're giving away free 2-month unlimited access trials to the first 500 people that follow the link down in the description and sign up. And from there, premium membership is right around $10 a month. So join the over 7 million people that are learning on Skillshare. Thanks, Skillshare. Not to mention, if it's not a perfect fit, you can always use some tile nippers to clean things up.
Oh yeah, I've seen these. Okay. Right, you just like pinch them? And
yeah, it's pretty much like toenail clippers is the best way to describe it.
But for like a horse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now on this third tile, I realized that since I was coming in from the edge and only making a half circle, I didn't necessarily need to make a plunge cut. So I tried making curve cuts and then clearing all of it out. And that worked really well.
The good thing about this though is just like
The touch screen.
the back is clean, right? Boom.
The final tile needed another hole in the center of the tile, so I did another plunge cut, and I've got to say, this was so much fun, but I still recommend getting a ceramic hole saw. This totally worked, but I've always got to recommend doing things proper. If you've seen my recent renovation content, then you know that I've done a little bit of tiling, but it's not something that I'm incredibly comfortable with. This was my first time installing any sort of backsplash, let alone tiles without spacers. So having Rachel there to help give me little tips along the way and make sure I was doing things correctly was really beneficial. We were able to go along doing one row after each other, alternating to make sure things were moving smoothly. I was able to do one row, and then she was able to do the next one, cleaning up all of my mistakes. And because I was the tall one, I got the honors of putting that final piece in.
This is pre-mixed grout, way easier to use. We're gonna go with a bright white and slap it on there.
So earlier we mentioned that we didn't use any spacers when we installed the tiles, and that makes for a really clean, modern look. But that also means that there's not as much wiggle room to help keep all of your corners consistent when you install the tiles. And that's one of the reasons, aside from the fact that it just looks good, that Rachel decided to use bright white grout instead of a contrasting color. Now grout dries relatively quickly, and we sectioned this wall into quarters so that we didn't do too much at once. After applying the grout to that first quarter, Rachel came back with a wet sponge to remove all of the excess. Then it was my turn to try on the second quarter of the wall. I got the grout float and I packed the grout into each of the seams between the tiles at a 45-degree angle, sort of a crosshatch pattern if that makes sense. Of course, these tiles are pretty small, so it's inevitable that the faces of them are going to get caked in grout, but if possible, try and stick to only getting grout into the grooves of the tile for easier cleanup. And I'll leave a video linked below that is a very thorough subway tile install video. He's doing it horizontally instead of vertically, but still good tips.
All right, so now that we've got our tiles clean, I'm gonna come back with a paper towel and just clean off all the tiles individually without touching the grout line. This is gonna help the tiles not get too hazy, but don't worry, if they do get a little hazy, you can actually get haze remover from Home Depot or wherever, and it's really easy to use.
This really isn't something that I've seen anyone else do, but it makes sense to me to give each tile its own individual bit of attention to make sure that the face of it is clean and that it has a really good grout line that you can be proud of. The way I look at it is we spent about 6 hours tiling this wall, and if we spent another 6 minutes doing quality control, that was totally worth it.
And also, like, all my nieces.
Allow me really quickly to remind you what this bathroom looked like before. There was tile on the floor, but that was about it. Really, it was a blank canvas ready for our art. Just kidding. I couldn't be more happy with how this tile backsplash came out. Orienting these tiles vertically made a huge impact in the space, bringing the eye up, making the room feel bigger.
So thanks a lot for watching, and thank you to Rachel for letting me come in here and film your bathroom renovation, or a portion of it at least. I really love the no spacers look. If you're interested in like a really clean, low profile design, I say go for that. I didn't even know this was a thing you could do. I thought like a 16th inch gap was the smallest you could do, but this is amazing.
Minimalism DIY.
Exactly. So if you have any questions, leave those below. And if you have any specific questions, you can hit me up at Modern Builds and Rachel up at R. Andersen with an E.
That's right, yeah.
Yay, okay. So thanks again everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video and we will see you next time on Modern Builds.
Sweet.
Yay.
We did it.
Let's get out of here.
Okay, you go first.
Well, no.
You go first. The tiniest bathroom